Welcome to this Friday edition of Down the Road. A couple of big stories going on in North Dakota today. Of course, the Bison. The Bison are down in Frisco taking on Montana State. That state-to-state type rivalry, the Big Sky, making its way into the national championship game. So we're going to get a chance to visit with Leon Costello in just a little bit. Leon is the director of athletics at Montana State University. Also, North Dakota's kicking back I think it's $47 million. Might be even just a hair more. What's 140 this or that? It's $149 million in affordable housing dollars back to the federal government. And so we'll touch on that as well. But we're going to bring Mr. Costello in right now because he's as busy as all get out. He's the athletic director at Montana State University, and he's given us some time. So, Leon, thank you, sir. Thanks for coming down the road with us.
Hey, not a problem. Good to talk to you again, and happy to be here.
You got to be pumped as it gets every little bit closer. I mean, you and your staff have to be high-fiving a lot.
Yeah, it's getting here Wednesday, and then getting all the things situated. A couple more planes are coming down here this morning, but now it's Friday. Everything's kind of calmed down a little bit. Now it's probably going to be the longest day that we've had, just because everybody's ready to. All the other preparations are done. Now we're ready to play the game. And so, but yes, you're exactly right. Every time we see people in the hallway, see our fans, see our staff, there's always a smile on people's faces.
So I've got to throw this out to you. I've got friends down there. You've got friends and family down there. Of course, the Bison Nation travels in force, and it sounds like the Montana State family travels in force, because that's what they're telling me. They're running into each other in many places, but not the least of which is a pub here and there. And I spoke to one of my friends that was he was hanging out with them last night, and they are all having a blast together. Maybe it's the upper Midwest, maybe it's whatever, but you're not seeing that Philadelphia cowboy type thing. They're all buying each other a beer and having some fun. That doesn't surprise you, does it, Leon?
No, not at all. I mean, knowing both fan bases very, very well. I think running into each other and seeing each other, there's a history there with our two teams, but obviously being the upper echelon of the FCS and being so close, kind of bordering states, and there's a lot of familiarity with each other. And I think when you don't have that fierce rivalry, because we're not in the same conference and things like that, it can be a whole lot of fun. And you said it. I mean, fan bases are so much alike and so similar. Universities are so similar. You can see why the fan bases get along.
And I'm going to throw this out there as well. You brought him here. Coach Biggs, you've got a man from Buxton, North Dakota, so we're going to take a little bit of credit for that. You coached at North Dakota State University, played at North Dakota State University, heads down to Wyoming, you go get him. You bring him up to Montana State, and the very first year, you gave him the keys. He's got you in the national championship game. Did that surprise you? I know you were bringing somebody in that you thought could build this program to where it's at already, but did it surprise you in the first year he was able to accomplish this?
I would say after going through a whole season, looking back on where we are today, no, just because of now what I know of Coach Vegan. Watching him in action and seeing how he's laid out his plan, how he's put the coaching staff together, how they've gone about their business throughout the year, I think we would say it's exactly what we hope for. But as you know, and anybody knows, if you have a transition and you're going through a coaching search, you're hoping for these kind of outcomes, but very rarely do they happen this quickly. We knew we had a really solid team. We knew we were going to be great on defense. We knew we had senior leadership. We needed somebody to come in and really, put it all together and take that next step. And that's what he's done in a very, very short amount of time. But I guess if you had asked me this, back when we hired him, I would say maybe. But after watching him now in action, not at all. He just goes about his business. Very smart, level-headed coach. Obviously comes from a great background, great pedigree as far as his experiences, but also his family. Growing up in a coaching family, and I don't. As I look back on it right now, I'm very excited. I'm very happy. And as I say today, I would say, no, it doesn't surprise me at all, just knowing the kind of guy he is.
So, looking back, I know that a lot of the Bison fan base, back when Coach Bowl left for Wyoming, a lot of them wanted Coach Vigen to be the head coach of the Bison. And when he went to Wyoming, there was a lot of people that were upset about that. They wish that he would have stayed because of that North Dakota background. And so I don't know that it surprises a lot of people here in the state of North Dakota either. I think that everybody knew the type of talent he had. And I'm wondering, it's your job to find the best and bring them to Montana State. At the FCS level, in basketball, at the FBS level, so you search all over the nation. And I've got to ask you this. Do you think it helps Coach Vigen to have coached at that FBS level, to have gone down to Wyoming for a while? Do you think that helped him get to where he's at today?
Of course, yeah. I think when we were looking at our coaching search, I wanted somebody that understood, first and foremost, the FCS level. Because if you compare FBS and FCS, obviously there's a lot of differences with scholarships and playoffs, postseason at the end of the year, knowing how to structure your season and your plan in order to prepare for 15 potential games. I wanted somebody that had been there and done that. But I also think, with his experience moving on to the FBS level and getting a different experience, because what he knew was North Dakota State as a player and as a coach. And so I think, going somewhere else, getting out to maybe the comfort zone of, his surroundings, being very comfortable with where he was, going to Wyoming, to a new part of the country, understanding, recruiting in the Rocky Mountain region, for me was very important. But I think tying those two things together was really what sealed it. Was he had recruited in this area, in our area, and he understood that FCS landscape, how to play with the numbers with scholarships, how to put together your season plan in order to plan and prepare for 15 games to make a run in the playoffs. All those things went into making this decision.
So, you look at Montana State, you look at the Big Sky. I refereed in the North Central Conference for I don't even know how many years. So I know what it was like to be hollered at on the field for one of these games. And my impression of the Big Sky whenever I refereed them was it was a gunslinger conference. This was a conference where at the end of the game you were going to be drinking a lot of water because they like to throw the ball. Is that the case anymore with this Montana State team? Is this a team that can punch you in the face at the line of scrimmage, or is this a team that still gets after it through the air?
Yeah, I think we're pretty versatile. I think if you talk to anybody, we want to be very physical up front. We want to be able to run the football. We want to be able to establish a line scrimmage. But then again, we also want to be diversified to where no matter what's going on throughout the game, we can throw it for a first down. We can have a quarterback run. We can mix it up a little bit. And so I think we have come a long way from what you are talking about. I think, back when I was at Northern Iowa and South Dakota State, that's what I thought of the Big Sky Conference was, run and shoot, get up and down the field, score a ton of points. And there definitely are still some teams that do it. Eastern Washington, comes to mind. But you're seeing more and more teams kind of make the change and make that kind of transition or switch to more a physical brand of football, because we know that if we want to be in this position, one of our conference schools wants to be where we are today, we're going to have to do that. And we're going to have to be able to match the physicality of a team like North Dakota State or a James Madison or a South Dakota State up front in order to be able to compete. And so I think, you're seeing a lot of teams from the Big Sky make the switch, but that's not saying we still don't like to throw it down the field and score a bunch of points.
And you've got a freshman doing that. Tommy Touchdown, as everybody's getting to know him, is a young man right there. He recruited in the heart and soul of where you're at, the base. And so to look at that freshman quarterback, does that give you any concerns going into this game? I mean, he is a freshman.
Yeah, not really. Just watching him throughout the year and then watching him take these steps these last couple of games, it's been pretty impressive to watch. And I would, it's a great question. And I think normally I would say yes, just because of, maybe the lack of experience. But the great thing about Tommy is he wanted to play, and he played a lot of different positions for us throughout the year. He just, he didn't start at quarterback. He played some quarterback, didn't throw a lot of passes. I think maybe before this playoff run, it was 4 or 5 passes that he had thrown, but he had played special teams. He had come in crucial situations to go get a first down. So he had, those experiences, some of that pressure on his back. He's just now taken all the snaps. And so watching him throughout the year, I think he has prepared himself very, very well. I think the offensive coaches do a really good job of that. And the one thing I can say about him is he was ready. And I think that's showing up on the field every time he takes the field. And you're seeing him get better and better each time he goes out and plays.
See, to me, a freshman quarterback, or any quarterback for that matter, but to do that at the freshman level, to play him in multiple positions like that, to know what it's like to hit and to know what it's like to be hit.
Correct.
Going into that quarterback position, that is so key because, I've watched him on film. He doesn't get happy feet. I mean, this is a young man that's comfortable in the pocket, not worried about his blind side and taking that big hit. And that's a freshman. I mean, that really surprised me. I have to say this to you, Coach. The game that got everybody's attention here in the playoff run was that SDSU game. And, of course, you've got some background there. But, SDSU has been a thorn in the Bison's side for a while now. They have. And so when you beat SDSU, after SDSU had beaten the Bison earlier in the year, it was like, okay, this Montana State was on people's radar. This one's serious. And, going into that SDSU game, that had to be a pretty gratifying win for you.
It was. It was great to have old friends on the other sideline during that game, from Coach Stig and some of the coaches that are still there, but Justin Sell, the athletic director, Slade Larscheid, who's their deputy AD. I knew him, worked with him. I worked with Justin for over 15 years, from UNI to South Dakota State. And, we talk a lot about college athletics and sports in general being a small world, and the network. We have very large networks, but it makes the world very small. And I think it was great to be in that kind of a game because we just know the quality of opponent that SDSU is. And obviously the spring season, they played very well. They've been playing well for many, many years, but to make the run in the spring and to take out the spring national champion and the spring runner up for us, for us, that said a lot. It said a lot about our team. It said a lot about the heart of this team and where we were. It kind of, put us on the map a little bit. And but yeah, it was always a little more sweet when you can take out some friends. It's your friends before the game, your friends after the game, but obviously it's kind of like your brother. You always want to beat your brother when you're playing the game. And but I can't say enough great things about SDSU, their program, their athletic department, how they run things. It's a first class operation.
So what's your tell, Leon? As you watch the beginning of this game, there's always something you look at. As an old college official, I can tell you what my tell is. I look at the guards. I look at whether or not, because for us, here in North Dakota, we assume that we're going to dominate a game, even though that isn't always true. But what I look at is I look to see if the Cat offense can get first downs by running. Because if they can get first downs by running, then Tommy can stretch the field out. And so that's my tell. What's your tell?
I think you're spot on. But I think it's both sides. I think it's how our defensive line, which we're very proud of, is going to hold up against NDSU's offensive line in their running game. And I think it's on the other side, the same thing. And I think whoever's winning the trenches and moving the ball on the ground in the first few possessions, I think is going to be a big sign. And so I think you're spot on. Now I go a little bit broader than that and just kind of see how that line play is going to work out. But it's going to be very interesting to see right away. And then to be honest with you, with my experience at Northern Iowa and SDSU, the one thing that I always kind of put with the Bison are special teams play. They usually have some very good special teams plays, either big plays on the return game or big plays, with some blocks or things like that. And so, I think that, you gotta win all three phases. Coach Vegan talks about that all the time. But the one thing I do remember playing NDSU at my previous two stops was the special teams play as well.
Yeah, that's incredibly fair and incredibly accurate. We both could have said balls on the ground too. Keep control. Fumble here, fumble there, a pick here, and a pick there is going to matter in a game like this. But you've been so generous with your time. You run such a great program in, I might add, one of the most beautiful parts of the country. That couldn't have been too hard for them to recruit you once you got on campus. But good luck to you. Thanks for giving us your time, and thanks for coming down the road with us.